Hey, it's 4:20. Let's get high. All right. Howdy. Thank you for tuning in. Feel free to ask any questions. I wanted actually to address a question that came in after I signed off last time. And someone asked why it is that these stories I tell are not found in the Old Testament. So this is what I want to say. That the Old Testament, first of all, is not a proper translation of the Torah, as one can see just from the title, that Torah means teaching and not testament. And the difference between a teaching and a testament is that a teaching begs questions. And that's how the Torah is written, that it begs questions, like God said, does God have a mouth? I mean, you're supposed to ask that question. And a testament, you don't ask any questions. Like guy's dad leaves his last will and testament. That's it. There's no question. That's it. So by changing the title, they actually changed every word within it. So, and it's interesting. I have this little gig that I do Thursday night and Saturday night. I read tarot cards at this restaurant here in LA. And I got a ride home with this guy. And he was, and we were both talking about not working Friday nights, And so I asked him why he doesn't. So he says, why? I'm a Black Jew. So we started talking. We had a really cool conversation. But in the end, I asked him, so where do you read the Torah? Like he was very, he knew like obviously a lot, and he really applied himself. And it's interesting that in the commandment of learning Torah, it's not how much Torah you learn, it's how much you exert yourself. And obviously this man really exerted himself. And so in the end, I asked him what he was reading. He told me, he's reading from the Bible. So I said, man, you're Jewish. Go to a Jewish bookstore, get a real Torah. And in that Torah, you will find the oral tradition, because that's what they missed. And because they were together with the Sadducee, and the Sadducee, Jesus actually came to teach the Sadducee, who just wanted to use the Torah as kind of like, it's our history. And it doesn't really affect people's lives. And they were kind of like a hidden group inside of the Jewish people. In the time of Jesus, they were very, very strong. They were very aligned with Rome. And the Sadducee said that there is no oral Torah. And the whole oral tradition is what by that time it's like, almost 2,000 years, 3,500 years. 2,500 years. Anyways, it's a long, 1,500 years. I don't know. Anyway, I can't think right now, but it's a long time. And they just rejected it. And without the oral Torah, all you're left with is the exact translation of words, which is not the simple meaning of the Torah. And so they left out all the oral Torah, and that's why they don't have these stories, and that's why it's incomplete. I see that I'm going to put my glasses here just because I see there's a lot of questions here. So there's stuff I want to talk about, but we can do this first. Here is what God told Noah: not to be written on paper. Blend, do not mix. Jesus is like, all right. Here's the deal. That God is not spiritual, and God is not physical. God is one in duality, which allows God to be everywhere all the time for everybody. And and as far as Noah got the seven commandments. They didn't really need to be written down. And but the Oral Torah was given. The Oral Torah was not allowed to be written down until 2,000 years ago, when Rome was about to throw everyone out of the country, and the rabbis realized, if we don't write this stuff down, then it's going to be lost. So they wrote it down and sent out to all the parts of the world, and we continue to to communicate with each other through these things. Anyways, let me see if I can go through this. You're right, I probably won't listen to you. All right, nothing much here. All right, so that's my answer to that question. And then today, and I'm a little bit on a schedule today, actually, but anyways, so I have to suddenly leave. I'll suddenly leave, but it shouldn't be for like 20 minutes or so. Anyways, so what I wanted to talk today about was something very cool that I learned. I just thought it was so cool. I just really wanted to share it. And in the temple, and I meant to look up, but I didn't get a chance to. But there was a certain formation in the temple that there were 12 oxen, and there was a sea above them. This is, I forget exactly where this was, but it was holding up something, or there's something under it. But there were these 12 oxen, and there were and there's just sea above it. And what did this mean? So the 12 oxen have to do with the 12 tribes. And there are 3 on each side. There's 4 sides. There are 3 on each side. And actually, in the desert, when we were walking in the desert, that's how we walked. We always walked in a square. And in the center were the Kohanim and the Leviim, and they were the ones who took care of the 10 Commandments and all the equipment and all the and they did all the things that were supposed to be done, and they had to set it up and take it down. It was called the Mishkan, and it was quite heavy and was made of like cedar wood, and they had all these golden, silver, and brass bases that they put the wood into. It's the whole thing. I mean, it goes on and on about all the different things that they have to have. And that was our work. That's what we did. We built this thing. We took it with us wherever we went. And why am I telling you all this? Oh, yes. But once we got into the temple was permanent. Then this stuff was like permanently put there. And the idea of these 12 oxen and the sea is explained in the Zohar like this: that 12 is a very important number. That as we see, there are not just 12 tribes of the Jewish people, but there's 12 tribes of the Arab people. This is long before they got the Quran, but they were becoming a people. And there's 12 tribes to the Roman people through Esau, the twin brother of Yaakov. And 12 is like very important, as we know that the sky is divided up into 12 sections. But the idea of the 12 bulls, or the 12 oxen, is that an ox is the only animal that when you tie it, to a rope or not a sled, but a plow, it eagerly does it, no problem. And one of the tribes of the 12 tribes, Issachar, is compared to an ox. That no matter what life is, if it's good or it's bad, they keep learning Torah, because that is what we're yoked to. We're yoked to the Torah. We learn the Torah every day. We've been doing this for 3,500 years when it was divided up into daily portions. And we learn the portion, we also learn it in the translation of Onkelos, of Aramaic, which was given like in that same time. And 12, what 12 does is it brings the Shekhinah upon us. And what is the Shekhinah? The Shekhinah, it comes from the word shochen, which means like a neighbor. And it's something that like comes down upon us. And when you hear like God murmuring, this is Shekhinah. And she is like the real feminine expression of God. And she is very sensitive, and you have to be extremely careful with her, and not to do something that's disrespectful. And the interesting thing, see, I mean, it's all very interesting, but that this is mother and daughter. And mother is called Elohim, and daughter is Shekhinah. And the Shekhinah, daughter and mother, they have this very close attachment. And what is the attachment? That Shekhinah is inside of Elohim. And we see that in the last 3 letters of Elohim is Hayom, the sea. And that's the sea that's on top of the 12 tribes. And the 12 tribes are these oxen who plow ahead and plow the soil of the earth so that they can be seeded with life. And that is our job. And Elohim is made from 2 words. El, which is a masculine name, referring to kindness. And then Hayam, that this is the feminine, because the feminine is hidden, and the Yam is hidden, the sea is hidden. That you throw something in the sea and it's just gone. And it says there's more diversity in heaven, different types of life forms, than there is beneath the sea. And there's a lot of that beneath the sea. All right. All right. Anyway, so that's, I just thought that was just such a beautiful, cool thing. And so I wanted to share that. And all right. So, all right. So it says, once a person asked a question here, interesting question, that Western magic is based on Kabbalah. And I think to a certain degree, that's certainly true. Certainly the tarot cards, the Riders of the Golden Dawn or something like that, that they were dabbling in the Kabbalah. But the Kabbalah, it does have many secrets, and really the secret of the Kabbalah is in the way that it explains the minute details of how light transfuses through the world, through all the spiritual worlds, and comes down into this world. And it's extremely complex. You could liken it to like, physics, not just physics, but like, like of the atom, for what you call it, nuclear physics or astronomical physics, and it has that kind of like pi. They have computers running day and night for decades, trying to compute out pi to a bigger number, and that helps them to compute in space. And of course, pi is 314, which is the gematria of Shaddai, which is the name of God that has to do with creation, as the interloper between the line and the curve. And so, and certainly because Rome was very, involved. I mean, they completely took over both Egypt, where Alexandria had the biggest library in the world, esoteric library, in Ethiopia, even the time of what's his name? Oh, I can't remember his name. The great leader of Ethiopia, back like 70, 80 years ago. Maybe I'll remember his name. It's probably on the tip of my tongue. Haile Selassie said at that time he had the biggest esoteric library in the world. So Rome came in, and the thing about Rome, because Rome is based in Esau, he is the father of Rome, and Esau sold his birthright to Yaakov, and as a result, he had nothing of his own, and he adopted the language of Latin, at least in his writing. Maybe they spoke it too. I guess maybe they did, and they didn't have any kind of spiritual lineage. So when they defeated Greek, that was really when they became to, as big, the guys conquering the world. They were able to defeat Greek, and they took all the Greek gods and they shaved them and gave them Roman names. And they mixed in with that, some Egyptian stuff and then the Jewish stuff. And with the Sadducee, who were Jews, who were really against the Jewish people, they came up with the Bible. That's how the Bible was written. And it's known in the Torah that because Esau and Yaakov were twins, Yaakov is Israel, were twins. When one goes up, the other goes down. So it behooved Rome to write a story that would keep the Jewish people down, and that's in the story that Jesus was God, here on the earth, and the Jewish people, forced the Romans to crucify him, which is just a bunch of malarkey, to quote our president, and it is just bullshit. I mean, there's not even one thread of evidence that Jesus even lived, and certainly there's no evidence of any kind of story. It goes against all kinds of Jewish laws. I mean, even when Jews put people to death, the law was they couldn't feel pain, weren't allowed to do it in a painful way. Even stoning wasn't done by stoning the person to death, but rather they gave him something, a drug, a little LSD, and he could fly off of a high platform. And then when he landed, he died. And then they threw rocks on him. It was kind of a spiritual thing. And then there's many things that just makes this story impossible. Nonetheless, with this, they have forced the Jewish people down. Everywhere we went, this story ran after us. And as a result, the more we went down, the more Rome went up. And the more why they keep trying to separate us from our Arab brothers, from the two peoples who have two books of prophecy. That, as far as I know, there's no other book of prophecy in the world. I mean, there are great books, and there's certainly prophets of all people, but there's only the Semitic people have these special languages of Arabic and Hebrew that can write down prophecy. and by Rome, inserting themselves between the Jews and the Arabs and claiming, we're all just one religion, which is just bullshit, as much as monotheism is bullshit. That's never written in the Torah, monotheism. That's not even correct, because God is not a theist. God is not any kind of spiritual being. God is beyond spirit, beyond physical. That's why we can all pray to God at the same time, and God's listening to all of us and creating creation moment by moment. And no religion, no thought can grasp God. It says only the heart can grasp God. We can feel God. We can know God. But there's no way to understand God because all we understand is physical and spiritual. It's mostly physical and spiritual. People have very wild ideas about it, and certainly no one can understand God. And we're not supposed to. We're supposed to have a relationship with God. Since God's not physical or spiritual, God's right here. We can have a relationship with God. Hey, God, come on in. We're high. Come on in. We're high, you get low, and we have a relationship with one another. That's what God wants. God wants to be known and low. God doesn't want to be glorified with some fancy kind of language, people, the I and the thou and all the bullshit and God speaks simple language. When we refer to God in every prayer as Baruch, which means a blessing to draw down from Atah. Who is Atah? Atah is you. From you, that's a nice way to talk to God. Hey, you. We want to have a personal relationship with God. Then afterwards, we mention the names, Adonai, Eloheinu, the name Yud He Vav He. We call it Adonai, but it's really a name beyond time because it includes the 3 tenses of time, Hoya, Over, V'yiyah. And Eloheinu is like, these 2 names comprise sort of mother and father of creation. And then Melech HaOlam, king of the world. And that's the lowest level king. And the king speaks. The king doesn't write anything down or go around, the God just speaks. This is the decree. Go do it. And in that, we have a relationship with the world. And God wants us to do 7 commandments. I mean, the Jewish people, we have 613, but, that's for the Jewish people. Other people can learn from it because it's sort of like we have 7 limbs of the body, and also we have but the body is made up of 365 connecting tissues and 248 limbs, which is the same spectrum between the Earth and Pluto, the 7th planet out there that goes around the sun 248 years, and we go around 365 days. So we're all like sort of connected and combined. It's this like really beautiful thing. And through doing the commandments, the 7 commandments are like the outer part of the body, the limbs and the legs and the and the the head and the sex, and these are all the things that we need to serve God with. Jewish people, so we're more like the inner side. So it says that without the Jewish people, that the world cannot live without the Jewish people doing these commandments, just like the world can't live without wind. And this is the interior of the world, and this is how we need to be with one another. That to recognize what we all give, because no matter who you are, you're part of the body of the human being. You're maybe the arm or the leg or the sex. Sex is very creative. That's where creativity comes from. Or you could be the inside, and you could be, and if one little thing goes wrong on the inside, the whole body doesn't work right. So we kind of all have to do our job. And what's our job? Our job is to do what you love. We all want to do something, and if you do what you love, then that will help society, no question about it. And this has been ransacked, has been kidnapped by capitalism, who wants to squeeze everyone. So you got to work at their job so they can get rich. And now they're going to build a fucking hotel up in space. That's what we really need, man. How about a toilet downtown LA? I'd vote for that one. So this is really, just completely absurd. And the only reason they can do it is they keep, with their false stories. And the Bible, the biggest false story of all, it goes along with the Bang and the evolution and all this stuff is the dumbest shit, because it's all based on this shit just happens. That's nature. Nature just produces life. 500 years ago, when Columbus went off to find America, people believed the world was flat, and now they believe the universe is flat. And I think their heads are flat. It only goes up so high, they can't be beyond that. And they're so egotistical that they're sure that they're right. They have these phony theories when there's ample proof that they're completely wrong, but they control everything. They control the media, they control the schools, they control everything. But thank God they don't control the internet. And, we can still have our say on the internet. We can print our books. I'm a writer. You can find my books at dovidhouse.com. And feel free to get one. Take a course. I have a course in Kabbalah. It is Kabbalah, but it's a way to understand the Kabbalah through the tarot. You read tarot backwards, it's Torah. Anyways, getting back to the original question of that people use so Rome certainly had much information, both from the Greeks who got it from the Jews and directly from the Jews and from the Arabs. And they took all of this and they didn't use it to get closer to God, but rather to make magic so they could convince someone or convince a lot of people that they were in contact with God because they could do this miracle. Actually, it says in the Torah, if someone comes and does a miracle, says, I'm a man from God, and he does a miracle, but then tells you to do something against the Torah or against the 7 commandments, that he's a false god. So miracles don't really prove anything. And people can use this stuff and do this stuff. I've never seen anyone come up with anything good as a result of this. And generally, it's always, you can't go messing around in heaven. Even the people who knew what they were doing didn't do that. And people who don't know what they're doing are just going to get burned. Shouldn't really mess around with. There's enough in what is written in the books. I mean, we have so much knowledge, and particularly between the Jewish and the Muslim people, there is so much knowledge from these prophets who gave us these words that came from heaven that are exactly recorded as they were, back in the time of Muhammad, back in the time of Moshe. These have not changed. I was talking to someone the other night who was from Saudi Arabia. So you don't get much a chance to speak to people from Saudi Arabia. And I told him, with all my Jewish books, I always have a Quran. And because I know that is the way to peace in the Middle East, is through our books. Because we are the people of prophecy. And our books are prophetic. And the only reason that there is not a close connection, we are brothers of the same father, between the Arab and the Jewish people, is because of the rabbis who from the time Muhammad would not accept him. As a result, no Jew has been able to step in Mecca since that time. And it's frankly time for the rabbis to, give it up, man. They're just wrong. And there's nothing in the Quran that in any way contradicts the Torah. And that is the thing with Torah, that if it doesn't contradict, then it's part of Torah. And prophecy that comes from heaven, it's all the same heaven. It's all dictated by the same creator, and none of it contradicts. And certainly, if we accept that and celebrate that and get Rome out of the Middle East, get all their bases out of the Middle East, get their religion out of the Middle East, and let us be, there will not only be peace in the Middle East, but there'll be peace throughout the world. So take that, Rome. And I really resent, I think, that Francis, the Pope, he seems like a decent human being. But I'll tell you something, he believes in the wrong thing. And he's going around trying to make peace with religion. These are two prophetic people. the Jews and the Arabs, the Iranians who have accepted Islam, and Rome doesn't fit there. They don't have a prophecy. They have a lie. It's a mean lie. And it's just called death throughout the world. And someone should tell the truth. I'll take that job. Anyways, I've done my 30 minutes. Thank you very much for listening and allowing me to rant to somebody. And I'm happy to take your questions about anything Jewish or anything else if I can answer it. And God willing, see you tomorrow. So until then, and it's funny. I just want to say when I like to make this thing. Trump started doing that. You've noticed when he first started doing it, when he always spoke like this. See, this is a sign of Shaddai, and Shaddai means enough. And it's also the way we hold a joint. And in Israel, when you do this, someone will come and kiss your hand because you've made the thing of Shaddai. This is Shin Daled Yud. See, and but now the far right has adopted it as some sort of but they're making the sign of Shaddai, and they're saying enough of this crap. All right, bye.